Hello everybody and welcome back to another exciting episode of the wonderful Wubulous Project Zomboid Banana Save File, I believe episode 59. Last we left off, where we left off rather, was in Gigamart. We had looted the place up and down, taking everything we left behind, and we're going to continue to explore buildings that we may have kind of ignored or maybe been rushed out of while we were attempting to escape zombies and many other things. I hope you guys had a good day yesterday. As far as Zomboid stuff is concerned, yesterday was crazy. It was a big Mundoid blog announcing some really exciting stuff that I think warrants a lot of discussion. Something that I'm actually going to take this episode, or at least a good part of it, to talk about. It is Zomboid related, so it's going to be worthy of discussion in my opinion anyway. And that is the introduction and the announcement of the multiplayer. And that the multiplayer has kind of jumped up in priority for a number of reasons, including but not limited to ease of development compared to what they initially thought it was going to end up being. It's definitely an interesting place. I ended up looking at a lot of the forums over the past day, and I was curious what people's feelings on the announcement of multiplayer were, and it's kind of back and forth, which is okay. You know, it's all right for people to be upset. There's nothing in the world telling you can't be upset that NPCs are not the next thing, but multiplayer is. And I'm not gonna lie, I definitely was in that camp because I'm very firmly an NPC person. I want to see NPCs before I see multiplayer, which obviously isn't gonna happen now. Okay, I need to back up. I can hear them all coming. Let's get out. Let's back up. Hang on. Let's deal with this little zombie situation we've got. Okay, well, I don't know how I missed that. Alright, I knew that one was going to go down in a hit or two. We've got two more. Boom. Come on, down. Man, these guys are taking a while to smack around. Even with a bat, they're actually taking a good amount of swings. Probably because I'm exhausted. But I want to take care of them because I don't want them following me. And it's worth the experience gain, too. Alright, come on. I'm going to give myself a little bit more time. There we go. Oh, no! Get out! Oh, shit. Did I get bitten? I don't know what that is, but we're going to get rid of it and try again. I'm okay. Woo! She came out of nowhere. Okay, come on. Down we go, both of you. There we go. One more. Two more. Sorry. I lied. Two more. If we can just take care of them before this one gets here, we'll be good. We'll be in good shape. There we go. Alright, cool. Anyway, so, back to what I was discussing. I was definitely, and still am firmly in the camp that NPCs are going to make or break this game, and I think that should be the most hotly anticipated thing to be added to the game. A lot of what people are complaining about, those who are not excited for multiplayer, is that they feel that the development of NPCs is going to and has pushed back. I mean, the development and the imminent release of multiplayer has and will end up pushing back the NPCs. And I can understand that worry. Again, I'm very much a part of that. I felt initially, rather, at the initial realization that this was coming out quicker than I initially anticipated, which was, I knew this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. My initial reaction was knee-jerk. My initial reaction was a knee-jerk reaction. I was not happy to hear about it. I was kind of upset, to be honest with you, because, I mean, Zomboid, let's be honest, Zomboid's development has been erratic at best, and it's just part of being in the early access problem. You're going to be putting yourself in front of a lot of people, and the developer has to deal with that. But one of my biggest concerns is that the development time was going to be taken away from NPCs, and this particular blog post has basically assured, or attempted to assure, everybody that that is not the case. That the problem, this is not going to take away from the development of NPCs, that it in fact has not even affected the NPC development, and is going to be something that is being put in because the Steam forum crowd has been begging for it ever since they've hit Steam. People have been begging for a multiplayer. It's just something they want to see. They think it's going to be a good addition to the game, and some people even straight out refuse to buy it without the multiplayer in it. And then on top of that, you have people who have the game but would much rather see multiplayer in the game as opposed to NPCs. Now, from a business standpoint, it makes sense for the Indie Stone to push this out, coupled with the fact that the multiplayer development has actually become much easier than they expected it to be. They got it working right about Christmas time, and have essentially been able to create the multiplayer aspect of the game in time that they didn't expect it to be done. So much quicker, faster, and more convenient, I guess, development time. So all that together has basically essentially put multiplayer at the forefront. And they expected backlash. I know they did. I've talked to Chris about it. And they've expected, people who are going to knee-jerk react to the fact that you're seeing multiplayer before NPCs. The question I have, or I'm sure a lot of people have, is are they lying? Are they lying when they say it has not hindered the development of NPCs? And honestly, that's not a question we can really answer. We can take their word for it when they say no, it has not. And assume that, they're telling the truth, that it's not hindered the development of NPCs whatsoever. Or we could take the stand that they're liars, how dare they? And I think, to be honest with you, and I'm going to be straight up as I tend to be, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that they have a roadmap as to when they would like NPCs to be done. And instead of hurrying that along, and instead of, putting a lot more development time toward NPCs, they kind of keep that development under a steady pace. It'd be silly to think, and I think it'd be silly to admit, that development time on multiplayer could have been spent on NPCs. Even the developers, I think, would be silly to say, even if we hadn't created multiplayer, we wouldn't be developing NPCs, we'd be doing other things. I think that's a silly thing to think, because I really do think that, or at least Chris Lemmy could easily be spending that time working on NPCs and getting on NPCs up and running. Now, again, I will preface all of this by saying, from a business decision, this is very smart. NPCs could secure more sales for them, more funding, and better other things. From a fanboy standpoint, who's been with the game for a long time, and from other people's, it's going to be a little disappointing. So, has it set back NPC development? I'd say indirectly. I'd say it probably has. It probably has. Has it done it in a major way? No, of course not. I don't think it's been done in a major way. They pulled in a new developer, a new coder, to deal with this particular thing, and they still have people who are dedicated solely to NPCs as development. But Lemmy, Chris, goes back and forth. He does multiplayer and NPCs. He does a little bit of everything. So having him working on multiplayer instead of NPCs is, of course, going to indirectly set back the NPC situation, which is not something, I like to think about, but it could be what it is. It is what it is, rather. Not could be what it is. It is what it is. You kind of have to live with it and deal with it and move on with your life. Excuse me. I guess, it's tough to think that it's going to be a big deal. Do I think multiplayer is going to add a lot to the game? To be honest with you, for me, my personal playstyle, no, it's not going to add a lot to the game. I'll have a once-a-week stream where I can play with viewers and have a multiplayer server, but without NPCs, multiplayer, especially multiplayer where you're just playing with your friends, is not going to add a lot to Project Zomboid. Project Zomboid isn't about kicking back with a buddy and killing people that are killing zombies. It's not what it's about. That's what it might end up turning into with the multiplayer before NPCs are introduced. But the only way you can get a more exciting multiplayer thing going is if you have a server that's not whitelist blacklisted, where you allow everybody who has the opportunity to join your server to join, and then you start to not be able to trust those people who are playing with you. That's when it gets a little bit exciting. But are people going to open up their servers to the general populace? Is that something that we're going to be doing? Is that something we're going to see a mass influx of? And I'm going to say probably not. And the reason I'm going to say probably not is because Lemmy himself has said, especially in the early cycles of the multiplayer, you're going to see it becoming very easily hackable. It's not going to be very easily hacked. So he even suggested that as you as players whitelist and blacklist people to have a very particular experience to make sure that it's going to be fun. So you kind of have a double-edged sword here. On one hand, you play with only friends and whitelist people you know. The PvP aspect, the threat of other people is going to be gone, and essentially playing Project Zomboid with other people, making it a much easier game in the long run. Or you go the other route and allow people in with PvP on, making it potentially a little bit more exciting because you don't know who you can trust and who you can't trust, and have it opened up to hackers to come and hack your game, because let's be honest, it's going to happen. Hackers are going to run rampant, especially in a game that's relatively popular in the early access scene, or at least pretty niche. I don't want to say pretty niche, but still pretty popular. You're going to have hackers. It's going to happen. No way does it sound like multiplayer is going to add a whole lot to the game. I think that it's not going to add a whole bunch. Is it going to allow people or get people into the game that want to play? Yeah, it's going to have people pick up the game. People are going to end up buying it. They're going to end up playing it a lot more, and they have more sales, which I think is the ultimate goal of getting NPCs in there. The ultimate goal of saying, I keep swapping the words. I meant multiplayer. By the way, on my exploration, there's just like a huge horde of zombies over there. I'm trying to find a way around. It's not working. We're going to head down this way and see what we can find this way. Trying to play it a little bit carefully because there seems to be a heck ton of zombies over here right now. And I don't really want to get caught in a bad spot. So we're just playing a little bit more carefully than I normally would. We'll try and cut through here maybe a little bit. There's like a hotel or something. We also need to find ourselves a sledgehammer. It's kind of what we're looking for right now is a sledgehammer. I've obviously been in here already. Probably an alarm going off, so there was probably an alarm going off. So we're going to go ahead and do another quick look through. Kind of poke through everything and see what we can find. Still keeping an eye out for zombies, of course. I don't know where we're going to be able to find a sledgehammer outside of crates. I don't even know if they spawn outside of crates. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so we just have to be careful. Man, this is Thunderdome. No doubt. Didn't we see shotgun shells? There they are. I want to grab them. I do want to carry them with me. Try to stock up on what we can. Bring it back home. Bring it back home, baby. So, yeah, back to the multiplayer thing now that we're kind of in a better spot. I'm going to grab these matches. So, yeah, my personal opinion is gonna remain is mostly the same in that I'm very happy it's been announced. I think multiplayer is gonna be, in its own regards, fun, especially for me. I can make fun out of it because I'm gonna be able to play with viewers, and viewers might not be able to be trusted. But generally, I think multiplayer is not gonna change the core of the game all that much. That's where NPCs are gonna go. Do you have a right to be upset that they've announced multiplayer? Of course you do. Of course you have a right. No one telling you don't have a right. How is it affecting the delay of the game? That's something actually I want to touch on a little bit more deeply, because there's a thread that the guy was obviously argumentative. He was looking and prodding for a flame war. He was prodding an argument from the developers, but he raises a couple of good points that I actually kind of was like, he has a point here. But he's not going to get a proper answer because he's being a dick about it, and he doesn't deserve a proper answer. But I'm going to talk about it. So this guy posted on the forums. He's pissed off because he thinks it's going to develop, even more delay, etc., etc. And they, over the course, they're going to say, no, it's not, no, it's not. But I already said, Lemmy kind of goes back and forth. He's going to be multiplayer, and he's going to be NPC developer. So indirectly, it's going to be delayed a little bit. Granted, they did bring in another developer, another coder, and that's going to help with the development cycle. And I'm sure NPCs are probably right on track where they want it to be. Unless they actually devoted 100% to bringing out NPCs and kind of ignored multiplayer for a little while, we might see it a little bit quicker. But something he brought up, and the point he brings up is that, okay, so multiplayer, you can get multiplayer up, it gets working, it's not delaying you. Maybe multiplayer doesn't delay you whatsoever. What about when multiplayer comes out and now you need to start working on the bugs? Because multiplayer is going to come with a whole new slew of bugs. You'd be silly to think that when multiplayer comes out, there's not going to be any, it's going to come out perfectly. There's not going to be any bugs at all. It's going to be working as intended. It's not. It's going to be, a multiplayer brings a whole host of new problems. What then? Now you have to start patching that. Now you have to start working on that. Now you got to make sure that works, because the people who already have multiplayer are going to start, being pissed off that multiplayer doesn't work. And he has a point. The point is that once you introduce something to the game, once you bring something to the players, once you talk about, or once you 100% bring it forward, essentially, and give it to the players, you now have a duty, you have a responsibility to that player to make sure that it works. That's why this game has constant patches, to make sure that bugs aren't breaking the game constantly. They have a duty to the player that the things they've already introduced into the game as official and as part of the game either work or you remove it completely. And when multiplayer officially is handed off to the public, no longer is it in the closed testing phase where they can kind of take their time with it. Now it's in the hands of the public, and they officially have a duty to make sure that all bugs that crop up are eventually and officially fixed. And that, for sure, in my opinion, is going to slow things down. It may not be something they're thinking about, maybe they are thinking about it, and I'm just not giving them the benefit of the doubt. But not having that, or having multiplayer in those hands, now will slow down maybe the development of NPCs. I know I sound like a negative Nancy, but I'm bringing out options. And please, if you guys are watching, Andy Stone, Lemmy, whatever, tell me I'm wrong. Obviously, tell me I'm wrong. I'm bringing this up because I think a lot of people are going to worry about it, and until they get a straight answer or whatever, they're just going to be pissed off about it. Even if you admit that, hey, this might delay NPCs, I think people will be happy to hear an answer at the very least. Though you've already kind of given your answer. I'm curious if I'm wrong, I guess is what I'm trying to get at here. So, yeah, once multiplayer is out there and bugs need to be fixed, time needs to be taken away from development to fix those bugs on top of the other bugs the game is normally being presented. And the Indie Stone team isn't big. One of the other concerns I think that people have is that the Indie Stone is spreading themselves too thin. I have no idea about that. I have no idea. I've never worked with a team before. I've never worked on a game like this before. Do I think the Indie Stone team is small? Yes. Do I think they're trying to do things very ambitious? Absolutely. Do I think they can do it? Yeah, absolutely do. Do I think it's going to take them longer than they keep portraying it's going to take? Now I do. Now I think multiplayer might actually delay them ever so slightly, and we're going to be seeing at a longer development cycle for multiplayer, even if it's an indirect one. That's where I stand on that. I am still excited for multiplayer. I still think multiplayer is going to bring in a whole new slew of people. I just think that bringing in those new slew of people is going to present all kinds of new problems they're going to have to deal with. It's part of development. You have a duty to the consumer to ensure that the product that they have, that you have given them, is in working order, and it is now your problem and your duty to do that. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Again, NPCs are going to be this game. It is going to make or destroy Project Zomboid, and I'm sure that's terrifying for them. And I'm sure maybe even if it's in the back of their mind, or if it's subconsciously, or it's not even directly, they might even be terrified to work and bring out NPCs in any sort of manner, unless it's 100% working, which it won't be, by the way, because they know that if it's wrong, that if NPCs are destroyedly broken, are 100% awfully broken, that it's going to maybe make this game not worth the purchase. I think they're going to be fine. I think NPCs, even if they're not living up to the potential that they hope they're going to live up to, are going to be awesome. I think they're going to add a lot to the game. I just think that maybe making multiplayer something, that's going to come out first may have been maybe a minor mistake. Personally, that's a personal thing. I personally am in the NPC camp. I've been saying that. I've been repeating that. I just worry that bringing multiplayer to us is going to cause a whole slew of new problems that they might not be ready for or might not expect. Who knows, though? Maybe I'm wrong. Fingers crossed I'm wrong. We'll see what happens. I'm curious. I'm curious what you guys think, more importantly, because I know there's a lot of you who are excited for multiplayer multiple times. There's a majority of you in many regards that are excited for multiplayer, and I'm curious what you guys think of the situation we're sitting in now. Is this something you're excited for, or is multiplayer something you guys just can't wait to get your hands on? Where do you stand in this multiplayer NPC camp? I'm curious, because obviously I could be very much in the minority, and by the way that the developers make it sounds like I am in the minority with who want NPCs. It sounds like the majority want multiplayer. And if that's the case, then, who am I to say otherwise? I'm not. It's just... I'm just interested to see what people think. Alright, let's go ahead and grab these logs. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So, we got a lot of food. We just restocked our shelves massively, which is great. Why did that stop? Let's go ahead and do that. So we stored it up. Let's get a wall up and, do a little bit of construction before we wrap this episode up. My character's getting tired. It's getting late, of course. We want to make sure everything's going to be good. I actually don't have any of my construction tools on me now that I think about it. Oh, I forgot to drop off the shotgun shells as well. Something we're going to want to do. Let's go through the house, though. It'll be easier than going around. We'll go ahead and do that. And it's good to know that there's still quite a large horde. Not too far from us. They're right at the marketplace. The marketplace is going to be really scary to kind of get past them. But there could be some great things beyond all of that. So I'm hoping that we are able to get by them at some point. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and saw these puppies up. We didn't get the expert carpentry book, which is what we were looking for as well while we were out. That didn't end up happening, unfortunately. Unfortunately, as I die on the inside just a little bit. We're going to put up one wall. I should build a door, actually. I don't think I have the opportunity or ability to build a door. But we're going to build up like one set of walls. We're going to start connecting the next houses at the very least. Because this next connection right here is going to be nice and short. So having that done would be nice. I don't have to think about it. Actually, it's going to be these houses. I apologize. Through these windows. Let's go ahead and pop this. Build wooden wall. Let's go ahead and start dropping them down like hot potatoes. And then we'll build one over here. Oops. Well, we'll build that one there first, I guess. We'll just build these three here. And we'll wrap this episode up. We're going to stop this episode here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are enjoying the series, as always, dropping a like and a comment down below helps me a great deal. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more daily Project Zomboid and many other things. And as always, I'll see all of you guys next time. Bye-bye.